Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a mystery that's super personal to every single one of us, the puzzle of our own family.
I mean, have you ever looked in the mirror and asked yourself that exact question? It's something we all wonder about, right? How can we look so much like our parents but at the same time be totally unique? Well, let's put on our detective hats and start to unravel this thing.
All right, so this is a Class 10 explainer from A1 Institute, and trust me, in just the next few minutes, you're going to understand the science that makes you, well, you.
Okay, so first clue in our mystery, that obvious resemblance. Why do we look like our family? And even more basic than that, why do we look human in the first place?
Well, it all starts with reproduction. I mean, the most obvious thing about it is that it creates individuals that have a similar design. It's like passing on a basic blueprint, a fundamental body design from parents to their kids. That's why cats have kittens, dogs have puppies, and humans, well, they have smaller humans.
And you know, this whole process, it's got a name, heredity. It's the mechanism that makes sure traits and characteristics get passed down, pretty reliably, from one generation to the next. It's the reason you've got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, just like your parents.
But here's where the plot thickens. You are not a perfect, exact copy of your parents. And this is where our mystery gets really, really interesting. So let's talk about the different.
And that leads us to our next big idea, variation. These are all the subtle little differences that make every single one of us unique, even when you compare yourself to your own brothers and sisters. So where does all this variation even come from?
Okay, so check out this diagram with me. Up at the top, we've got one individual. Now, when it reproduces, it makes 2 new individuals in the next generation. They're very similar, but you can see they're not exact copies, are they? So what's happening here? The reason for these little differences is that there are tiny, almost unnoticeable mistakes that happen when DNA gets copied during reproduction. The best way to think about it is like making a photocopy of a photocopy. Each time, tiny new flaws show up.
So what happens next? Let's follow the diagram down. Those first small differences, they get passed on. And when the second generation reproduces, more tiny changes get added into the mix. So by the time we get to the bottom row, we've got 4 individuals who are all related, but each one is totally distinct. That's variation in action.
And you might be thinking, okay, so what? Well, this is a huge deal. This variation isn't just a fun fact, it's absolutely essential for survival. See, a species with a lot of variation has a much better shot at surviving when the environment changes, because it's more likely some of them will have just the right traits to adapt and thrive.
Okay, so we've talked about the big ideas. Now let's bring this home and look for some evidence you can actually see on yourself. These visible signs, we call them inherited traits. A trait is really just a specific characteristic. Could be your eye color, your height, or even the shape of your earlobes, and it's all passed down through your genes. And speaking of which, earlobes are the perfect example. Look at this. Some people have what we call free earlobes, where the lobe kind of hangs down. But other people have attached earlobes, where it connects right to the side of the head. It's a simple little trait, and it's all decided by heredity. Seriously? Go ahead and check right now. Touch your earlobe. Is it free or is it attached? That is a trait you got directly from your parents. It's a real-life piece of our heredity puzzle that you can see for yourself. Pretty cool, right?
So you might be thinking this is all just random chance. But nope, there are actual rules to this game. There's a whole predictable science behind how these traits get passed on, and it took a pretty brilliant detective to figure it all out.
And the whole basis for these rules comes down to a really simple fact. It's all because both parents, the father and the mother, they each contribute pretty much an equal amount of genetic material to their child. That's why you end up with a mix of traits from both sides of the family.
And the guy who first cracked this code, the detective who solved the case, that was Gregor Mendel. They call him the father of genetics for a very good reason. He figured out through all his experiments with pea plants that some traits are dominant and others are recessive. He was the original hereditary detective who figured out the rules to our mystery.
All right, we have covered a lot of ground trying to solve our family mystery. So what are the big ideas that you absolutely need to remember? Let's break it all down.
Let's do a quick recap. First, heredity is what gives us our basic body plan. Second, variation is what makes every single one of us unique, and it all comes from those tiny changes when DNA gets copied. Third, those inherited traits, like your earlobe shape, are the visible proof you can see.
And last but not least, remember that all this variation is absolutely crucial for a species to survive in the long run.
So there you have it. You've basically cracked the code on this awesome family mystery. But look, this was just a quick dive into the amazing world of heredity. If you really want to master this for your Class 10 exams and you want complete notes and guidance from experts,
Well, that's where we at A1 Institute come in. We're here to help you succeed. For admissions, or if you just want more information, all you have to do is check out the phone number in the description right below. And hey, one last thing. If this explainer helped you out, do us a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share it with your friends, and most important of all, subscribe to the A1 Institute YouTube channel so you never miss our next explainer. Thanks for watching.